כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תפילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. We rise to welcome the Shabbat bride, the last verse on 22. בואי בשלום עטרת כלה, גם בשמחה ובשולה, תוך אמוני המסלולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Seated. We turn to page 23 for the song for Shabbat. Okay. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור בעלי נובל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת. FYI, this melody was composed by Debbie Friedman. We joined together 4 lines from the bottom in singing a melody that was composed by a 19th century cantor. So we're jumping centuries here. Tzadik Tamar Yivrach Ke'eres Balvanon Yizkeh Shetulim Bebeit Adonai Bechatzrot Eloheinu Yavrichu Od Yenun Beseva Deshenim Verananim Yehu Lehagid Ki Yashar Adonai Tzuri Velo Havlatavo.
Well, here it is, January, almost February, And I'm sure that Pesach is the farthest thing from your mind, but this is the Torah portion where we kind of finish up the Passover story. Last 3 plagues. Pharaoh changes his mind. He lets the Israelites go. And the name of the Torah portion is Bo. Now, Bo really means come, as in Bohena, come here. But it's usually translated as go. It was God's way of telling Moses and Aaron, we may assume Aaron, he isn't mentioned in the text, to go to Pharaoh and really read him the Riot Act. The last 3 of the 10 plagues are visited on Egypt. What were the last 3 plagues? It's a creepy crawly bug, it's brown.
Locusts?
Yes, very good, locusts, okay. Devours all the crops and greenery. And I know that back in the 19th century it was not unusual to have plagues of locusts in the Midwest and the Far West, and they did indeed eat everything green. Next, what comes next? Darkness, very good, you are on fire. Choshech, a thick, palpable darkness envelops the land. And of course, the commentaries like Rashi from the 11th century, he never leaves well enough alone. He takes the plague of darkness and he makes it even more remarkable, because he says that if an Israelite and an Egyptian were walking through the darkness and both of them had torches, the Israelite's torch would light the way, but the Egyptian's torch would not. Oh, thank you. Okay. And finally, what is it? Makat Bechorot. Yes, all the firstborn of Egypt, killed at the stroke of midnight of the 15th of the month of Nisan. And the firstborn, it's a little tricky, because the best explanation I ever read, was that of Ian Wilson. He was a British scholar. And he said that when things got really rough, it was not unusual for parents to take their firstborn children and sacrifice them. So in this instance, it was not a plague of God. Rather, it was a plague by the Egyptian parents who slaughtered their children. It has been found on the Greek island of Santorini. They found a graveyard consisting of firstborn children of various ages. The other thing you should know is there's absolutely no mention of the plagues or Moses or anybody like that in Egyptian, not folklore, but Egyptian history. There was no real history as such, but they never mentioned it. And the reason for that was that the Egyptians were a very proud people, and they didn't like to make it out like they were losers. So anything that might have been pertained to the Egyptians or the plagues or Moses or building the pyramids would probably just be omitted. The other thing being that when the Egyptians were seeking to build the pyramids, supposedly the builders were the Jews. But there's an old story about that. This is when Israel and Egypt were making peace back in 1977. The deal was that Sadat would go visit Jerusalem, and Begin would visit Cairo. Well, Begin visited Cairo, and he was welcomed into Sadat's office, which was very snazzy indeed. And Sadat took him over to this enormous picture window and said, "Look, Mr. President, look at those pyramids. Have you ever seen anything so magnificent?" And Begin smiled and said, "Of course, we built them." So, it all depends on what you want to believe. The next thing, the first mitzvah which God gives the Israelite people is to establish a calendar based on the moon. The Jewish calendar is not exactly based on the moon. It is mostly, but there are some solar evidence that crept in also. The Israelites are also told to bring the Korban Pesach, that is the Passover offering. What was the Passover offering? It was a lamb, yes. Of course, if you had a really big family, I guess you'd get by with a cow. And if you had a teeny tiny family, you'd get by with a chicken. But anyway, that was considered the Passover offering. What did they do with the blood?
They smeared it on the doors.
Yes. The important thing, I'm sorry?
So that the angel of death would pass over.
Yes, very good. Now, what exactly are we talking about? This is the mezuzah. This doorpost is the mezuzah, okay, including the scroll, of course. The overhead is the mashkov, which means the lintel. But supposedly they smeared blood on all parts of the door.
Well,
For the
to
Seder.
do the Cecil B. DeMille version, he did it on the top. They only did it on the top.
Oh,
Which is-
okay.
That's in the Cecil B. DeMille.
I haven't seen that movie in a
No, I
long
don't have
time.
Preminger on the wrong guy.
No, it was Cecil B. DeMille. It was the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
he wasn't Orthodox, so you never know.
Well, Preminger was Jewish, and Cecil B. DeMille was not. What can I tell you? All right. The roasted meat of the offering was to be eaten that night together with matzah and bitter herbs. They had to eat it. How did they eat it? Did they sit very leisurely, or did they have their coats on and their walking stick in their hand and ready to go? It's ready to go. You got to go. Because at midnight, God was going to command them. Well, midnight, the sequence of events was that midnight, the firstborn died, and then after that, they had the first Passover Seder, and finally, the children are running around because they're told that they can stay up late, and the mothers are packing everything, and the men are mostly standing around and yelling orders that nobody listens to. So they were all ready to leave Egypt. Okay, the death of the firstborn breaks Pharaoh's resistance. He literally drives the children of Israel from his land. And why did they invent matzah?
Because bread didn't have time to rise.
That's right, yes. And to this day, when they put the pattern in every board of matzah, you'll notice they punch holes in it. Why do they punch holes in it?
So it won't rise.
Yes, very good. And the other thing they had to do was go door to door in the Egyptian neighborhoods, asking the Egyptians for gold and silver and precious garments. And this way they got their 430 years of back pay. It was also, they needed these materials to build the Mishkan, to build the sanctuary in the wilderness. And they leave Egypt birchush gadol, with a great deal of property. They are commanded to consecrate all the firstborn. I didn't know that was where it was, the Pidyon Haben, or as some people call it, the Pinyon Haben. What is the Pidyon Haben?
You're going to buy back the baby.
Yes, yes,
Unless
right.
you have a Levi
Yes.
or Kohen.
No, if it's a Levi or a Kohen, there's no Pidyon Haben.
So
Right.
in that family, there weren't too many. We had a lot of Kohanim and Levi.
Right. Interestingly, I've officiated at a lot of brisses, but I've done Pidyonei Haben, but not as many, because I'm not about to call up the people and say, oh, isn't it your baby's 31st birthday? I mean, if they know, if they remember, I'll be glad to help them. But they don't even need me because I'm not a Kohen. You've got to get somebody who's a Kohen.
Right. Stan's
Right.
uncle was and his birthday's today actually, 93. He was the man in the family who did, probably first your
Yeah.
grandfather.
That's very nice.
So we went to a few.
Yeah, we didn't have any Kohanim in my family. My mother was a bas Kohen, but that was about as far as it went. Yes. And they are commanded to wear tefillin on the arm and head as a reminder of the Exodus and the resultant commitment to God. So it really is full of a bunch of symbolism. It is kind of significant. And fun to read too. Oh, one more thing. The Hyksos. Anybody heard of the Hyksos? Hyksos. These were the shepherd kings. These are the people who conquered Egypt at one point, and they were sort of Semitic. But nowadays, we don't really pay attention to them. When I was a kid, it was a whole big deal that the Israelites were Semitic, and of course they were. And they came thundering into Egypt in their chariots. You could have your two-wheeled chariot or a four-wheeled chariot. I would go with four wheels for safety. Okay, and mostly when you were in a chariot, you held on for dear life. Okay, anybody here ridden a chariot?
I stood in the one at, not MGM, where the
Universal?
Universal.
Oh, Universal had a chariot.
They, years ago, before
Mhm.
they made it a park,
Yeah.
they had the chariots on display. And
Oh,
I
cool.
took a picture of me standing in the chariot.
Oh, was it two wheels or four wheels?
Now, I don't remember, it was 1978.
You'll have to go back.
Dig out the
I don't
pictures.
think that exists anymore, the
Oh.
way they redid that park.
That's too bad.
But I'm
Okay.
in California, who knows,
All
maybe.
right, but
we
just
can
imagine the charioteer who lashing the horses, and the guy next to him has a bow and arrow. How can you hit anything when you're bouncing and jouncing over the plain? It's fascinating. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos, and we'll do the Baruch Hu.
So we rise. Baruch Hu. We have quite a few people on Zoom.
Yeah, we're all set.
Yes, that's nice. All right. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Adonai Morach le'olam voed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Amen.
Be seated. Let's join together and read a creative version of this blessing in the English together. On the right. Beloved are you, eternal God, by whose design the evening falls, by whose command dimensions open up, and eons pass away, and stars spin in their orbits. You set the rhythms of day and night, the alternation of light and darkness sings your creating word. The rising sun and the spreading dusk, creator of all, you are made manifest. Eternal, everlasting God, may we always be aware of your dominion. Beloved are Adonai, at this hour of night. El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv ha'ravim.
Amen.
Page 29, we sing together. Ahabat olam Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shofbeinu u'v'kumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nehegeh yomam v'layla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohei B'amo Yisrael.
Amen.
All right, the Shema on page 30. We cover the eyes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Uncover the eyes. Baruch Shem Kivod, Malchuto, Leolam Voed. In the English, you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day you shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Recite them at home and away, night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. All right, continuing now. On page 32. Mi chamocha b'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, norati lot osef eleh, malchutcha rovanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, tzeli anu v'yamru, Adonai imloch v'olam voed. V'nemar kifat Adonai et Yaakov, u'gi'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai, go'al Yisrael. Amen. On page 33, this is where we customarily do the prayer for the Cholim, the folks who are not well. Any names?
Paul Klein, there was a parking lot.
Oh, okay. Refuah Shalema. All right. Sheila Bergman, Refuah Shalema. Joel Lubar, Refuah Shalema. David Kennigan, Refuah Shalema. Baby Ella Rose, Refuah Shalema. Jeffrey Stern, Refuah Shalema. Marsha Y. Roby, Refuah Shalema. Eleanor Kirshner, Refuah Shalema. Rachel Spear, Refuah Shalema. Diane Massey, Refuah Shalema. Vince and Patricia Massey. Also the rabbi's wife in St. Thomas, Refuah Shlema. Kenya Bat Bracha Devorah Leah. Let's read together the paragraph. Help us, Adonai, to lie down in peace and awaken us again, our sovereign, to life. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us because of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, O God, who watches over us and delivers us, our gracious and merciful ruler. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Adonai, who spreads the shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisroel, v'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol haolam kulo. Amen.
Is he still here?
We turn to page 34. We rise for Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דיברה קירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביום אחד ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב במהרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולם בעלמיה.
יתברך
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי דקודשה בריאו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה,
תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה, וידברו אמן.
We pray the Amidah individually, pages 35A or B through 38.
We'll continue on page 47, and the tune I'm using is called Bashana Haba'ah. It was a big hit back in '73 following the Yom Kippur War. And our Israeli brothers and sisters have a particular talent for making lemonade out of lemons. Currently, they are in the thick of it, and we certainly pray for them. And also to keep in mind that as they triumphed in that conflict, hopefully this one will come out all right. Hayichulu hashama im be'aretz v'chol tzivaham vayichal Elohim bayom hashvi elakto asher asa vayishbot bayom hashvi mikom elakto asher asa vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi kiva vayikadesh oto Kivo Shabbat Mikol Melachto Mikol Melachto Kivo Shabbat Mikol Melachto Mikol Melachto Asher bara Elohim Asher bara Elohim Asher bara Elohim לעשות Asher bara Elohim, Asher bara Elohim, Asher bara Elohim Lasot. In the middle of the page, this is the Konei Shamayim Va'aretz, and I believe it is a summary of the Amidah we just prayed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Oel HaGadol Gibav Hanora Elyon, Konei Shamayim Va'aretz, Ogin Avot Bidvaro, V'chayei Meitim B'mamaro, Oel HaKadosh Shein Kamohu, Ameniach Liyamo, Yom Shabbat Kodsho, Kivam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem, Kivam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem, Lechadav Navod B'irav Afachad, V'nodeh Lishmo B'chol Yom Tamid, Me'ein habrachot El Ahudot Adon HaShalom Mikadesh HaShabbat Umvorech Shevi Umeniach B'kedusha Le'amidu Shnei Oneg Zecher L'maaseh V'Reishit. Page 48.
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Retzei v'Mnuchatenu, Kadeshenu b'mitzvotecha, V'ten chelkeinu b'toratecha, Sabaenu mituvecha, V'samcheinu b'shuatecha, V'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet, V'taher libeinu le'ovdecha be'emet. V'hanchileinu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava uvratzon, Shabbat Kodshecha, Ve'anuchu v'Yisrael, Mekadeshei Shemecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Yitkada v'yitkada Shemei Rabbai, Ve'amad Yivrakei, V'yamlich malchutei b'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei tocho Beit Yisrael, V'adala u'bizman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabba mevorach, le'olam u'lamei amaya. Yishvarach. Yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnasei, v'yithadar v'yitala v'yitalel Shemei Kedusha v'rihu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'ama v'yimeru. Amen. Titkabal tzeloton u'vaoton d'cho Yisrael, kol ha'amon b'shmaya v'yimeru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'bromav, Uyaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Turn to page 49 for the Kiddush.
Do I need help? No, I think I can make this crowd. Everyone can have two.
Two-fisted
Why so-
drinkers.
Wow.
Not the one grape juice.
I'll drink mine.
We could double it up if you want.
Or triple, or quadruple.
I'll have a double.
Yeah, right, have a doubling.
Juice?
Want a double?
Juice?
Yes.
Okay.
You want a double?
Okay, I'm good.
Can't even give it away.
Trying to get everybody drunk.
Sabri Chaverai, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei Peri HaGafel.
Amen.
Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, B'shabbat kodsho, B'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, Zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, Ki hu yom tefillah lemikra'e kodesh, Zecher litziat Mitzrayim, Ki manu v'charta, V'yatanu kitashta, Mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodshecha, V'ahava uvratzon, Hinaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh Hashanah.
Amen. Chaim, Hashem, Hafsimcha.
But still chance for another round.
Are you carding them?
Yeah.
No.
Thank you, dear.
Yelenu?
You turn to the Aleinu, page 51. Do we have a volunteer to open the ark?
Go ahead, Larry. Sure. You drafted.
Aleinu l'shabeach Adon hakol, Latei gedulah Yotzer b'Bereshit, Shelo asanu v'goyei haratzot, V'lo samonu k'mishpachot ha'adama, Shelo sam pelkeinu kahem, V'gor aleinu k'chol ha'olam, Anachnu kolim, u'mishtachalim u'modim, L'ifnei melech, Malchei hamochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'ne'emar, V'hoya Adonai, L'melech HaKol ha'oretz, Vayom ha'hu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shema
The ark is closed. We're asking everyone to please remain standing in tribute to our brothers and sisters in the state of Israel. Yitkadal Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Amen. Yilma Divrach Yerutei V'Yamliach Malchutei V'chayei Chol V'mei V'chayei K'chol Beit Yisrael V'Hagala B'zman Kariv Yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach V'Olam U'Leil Hayom Yitborach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitromam V'Yitnaseh V'Yitadar V'Yitaleh V'Yitalal Shmei Kudusha B'Reichu Li'elam Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata V'Shbechata V'Nechamata Ta'aviram Yamav Yimru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemayel. V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael Yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Mamav. Hu Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Yimru Amen. Please be seated. Before Cantor leads us in the Adon Olam, some announcements by our Vice President, Mr. Stan Eisen.
Sure, I can go
Okay.
first. Okay, so I've been assigned this one particular announcement. So Tu B'Shvat is coming this week. It's on Thursday, and we have our morning minyan. So we are going to be celebrating Tu B'Shvat. There's really no special liturgy for it, but afterwards we're going to have breakfast. So when we eat, we can eat fruits from Israel. And in fact, Gail Eisen is going to be contributing to our repast with an intriguing barley and dried fruit dish. So we encourage everybody to come and join us and help celebrate the New Year for the trees.
Thinking about that.
Good Shabbos, everyone. Just reminders for those of you who aren't here, who may not see the bulletin, but if you ever take a look at our bulletin online, there's something going on here every day except for Tuesday. I don't know, they gave everybody off on Tuesday, I don't know why. They even work on Shabbos here, it's amazing. But on Mondays, you've got the minyan at 8:45, followed by a live breakfast, right? A discussion group at 10 o'clock. Aging Gracefully is Zoomed at 10 o'clock. Finding Your Way Through Grief is a new program that was just recently started. Just a reminder, there will be no group meeting on January 22nd. That's not this week. And at 11 o'clock, there's a canasta group playing at the temple. So far, they're not doing 5-card stud, just canasta. Wednesday, we have the rabbi's class in the morning, in the afternoon at 4, the mythology of Judaism.
Yes.
Okay, got confirmation. At 7 o'clock, the rabbi's class on current events is Zoomed. Thursday, we have the minyan live and on Zoom in the morning, followed by a light breakfast. The cantor just told you about the extra special treats coming. And at 10:15, the cantor does her Haftarah cantillation course, not cancellation. Cantillation means when you sing. So that is on Thursdays, January 4th through February 22nd.
29th.
I'm sorry?
That's a mistake, it's actually through the 29th.
Okay, correction, we get an extra week. It's going through February 29th. I guess it's a leap year.
Yes.
It is actually.
Good guess. 11 a.m. on Thursday, we have Mahjong. Let me see, the next monthly book club is live the next January 25th. Mad Money by Jodi Picoult. Friday, of course, we have this evening service. Saturday, our traditional Shabbat service, followed by Kiddush and the rabbi's class at 12:30. Want to give anybody a
Yeah, we've been
preview?
doing ethics, Jewish ethics.
Okay, it'll be a very ethical class.
A lot of enthusiasm.
And Sunday night, Zoom only, at 8 o'clock, the code game is played. Right, Doreen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Good Shabbos to everyone.
Wonderful, thank you, Stan. Lovely bass voice there.
Yeah, I know, I did. Not by choice.
Be a DJ.
I'd rather just get rid of the whole cold.
Rabbi, do you want to lead the gentleman?
Oh, no, maybe you have a different tune? No? I can.
We could all do it together.
Well, that's what I would like to see.
No, I did the prayer for Chol. Okay. All right, I usually get in trouble for these, but because in honor of my plaid jacket here, which always reminds me of Guys and Dolls, we're going to sing, isn't it plaid? What is it? Oh, it's Houndstooth, yes.
Not even
It's not houndstooth?
Herringbone?
No. We're not leaving the chapel till we figure out
I
what
wish my
jacket it is.
brother was here because he was a
You
tailor.
would
It's
know?
not even one of them.
Okay.
It's a very fine,
Houndstooth?
But it's definitely
Thank
not
you.
plaid.
But I said it's a
Very
plaid.
fine
Very
plaid.
fine plaid. See, Cantor agrees with me.
Okay.
Okay, in any case, I thought it'd be nice to try if we can sing the Adon Olam to the tune of Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat. This is a very kosher tune because Frank Lesser, who wrote the lyrics and the music, was extremely Jewish. I don't think he was religious, but, well, you can't have everything. Adon Olam Hashem Olach B'terem kol yitzir nivra Li'et nasa v'chefzo kol Azai melech shimo nikra V'acharei kichlot hakol Levado yimloch nora V'hu haya, v'hu hove, v'hu yiyeh, b'tifara, 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 bum. V'hu echad, v'yein sheni, lehamshila, lehachbira, b'li reshit, b'li tachlit, v'lo ha'oz lehamizra. Vehu Eli, Vechai Goali, Vitzur Chevli, V'et Sarah. Vehu Nisi, Umanos Liminot Kosi Biomekra. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, you're rocking the boat. V'yahado av Hiruchi, V'et Ishan V'ya'ira. V'imruchi giviati Adonai li v'lo ira. And I said to myself, sit down, you're rocking the boat. I said to myself, sit down, you're rocking the boat. And the devil will drag you under by the fancy tie round your wicked throat. Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, you're rocking the boat. Sit down, you're rocking, sit down, sit down. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked.
Very good.
I didn't think it would work. Everything works with the Adon Olam. Please rise for the closing benediction.
Definitely funnier than television.
Yivorechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the
Thank you,
Lord
Ratzon.
bless you and keep you. Yo'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May the Lord
Thank you,
make his face
Ratzon.
shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the Lord turn his face unto you and grant you peace. We'll say Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom. Shalom al Yisrael. Peace for Israel.
We're in the rotunda.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yasher Koach.